All right, hey viewers, it's Brian and Keith here with Less Magic More Gathering, and it is a Thursday, and we are doing our deck techs for Lathnu Hellion, the draw, our random draw card from last week. So we decided we are going to go ahead and do two deck techs. So I built one, he built one. Double. Just because we both kind of got into it, and we had a long weekend, like we said in some of the previous videos beforehand. So we're like, okay, go ahead and build one, we'll check it out. And then instead of trying to combine them and make something of it, we're just going to go with it this way. So what we're also going to do for this video, and for hopefully some additional views and subscriptions, and maybe get some more things out there. Nothing too exciting, but just something different. We're going to ask that anybody viewing this video and anybody that's participating in our channel to judge these. Tell us what you think. Compare which one you think is going to be the better deck of the two. I don't care if I lose. I don't care if I win. I'm just curious to see what y'all think. And so is Keith. So we're just going to run down my deck here, and then he'll run down his, and then you guys can see it on the video, and then you let us know. Post everything. Yeah, post everything that you like about or don't like about it. Use it for playing at home or wherever you go. Use one of these decks or both, for all that matter. I don't care. They're very similar. That's obviously because we have the same starting card, so there are some similarities. But without talking this video to death, I will go ahead and jump into mine. So I'll start with creatures, and obviously I went with the Lathnu Hellion card. We already read it to you, but I'll read it one more time just so you know. It's on the screen. It's a 3-drop haste creature. When Lathnu Hellion enters the battlefield, you get 2 energy. At the beginning of your end step, sacrifice Lathnu Hellion unless you pay 2 energy. So, obviously, it's haste, a 4/4 quick slap to the face if they don't have any defenders out there, and then you have to pay to keep it on play. So you usually can keep it for that first round, but then hopefully you got a good enough energy build to keep it out there for a longer period of time. So having said that, we'll push into the next couple cards. I went ahead and added 4 copies of Aether Torch Renegade. I'm sure you guys know what that one is. It's another 3-drop creature, and it enters the battlefield. You get 4 energy. You can tap it, pay 2 energy, and deals 1 damage to target creature, or tap it and pay 8 energy, and it deals 6 damage to target player, which could be extremely beneficial, especially in the long run of the game if you happen to have your opponent close to that 6 mark. But it's also there for the energy build for the other purposes of this deck. So I did 4 of those, and then went to Bristling Hydra. 3 of those copies of Bristling Hydra, 4-drop creature, and it's an older one, obviously older and standard. It enters the battlefield with 3 energy counters, and you pay 3 at any time, put a 1/1 counter on it, and it gets hexproof until end of turn. Very popular card in the energy decks, as well as some of the other ones I'll probably get into. So there's 3 of those. And I went ahead and added another popular energy one in here, Electrostatic Pummeler. 4 of those. It's a 3-drop artifact creature, and it enters battlefield with 3 energy. Pay 3, and it gets a +X/+X until end of turn, where X is its power. So extremely useful if you're padding the strength of that guy up, and then you pay that 3 energy, and you're swinging with a heavy creature. People hate that card. I didn't like it when it first came out, but it's a very effective card in an energy type deck base. So. Next one, I went ahead for some a little simpler. Thriving Rhino. It only enters the battlefield with 2 energy. It's a 3-drop creature. Whenever it attacks, you may pay the 2 energy, and you can put a 1/1 counter on it. So obviously the counters stay on this one, but you can only do that the one time when it attacks, but it eventually will beef up. There are other cards in my deck that will improve the strength of these creatures as well, so we'll get into that here in a few. And then my last creature, Voltaic Brawler, 2-drop. Voltaic Brawler enters the battlefield, get 2 energy, and when it attacks, you may pay 1 energy. If you do, it gets a 1/1 and gains trample on the turn. So you can pump that guy up, a +1/+1 with trample. Also another attacking creature that's beneficial to the way this deck's designed. And then moving on to my instance, which is another thing that'll benefit the creatures. So we got Harness Lightning, which won't benefit my creatures, but if I have to kill something off that my opponent has, that's obviously beneficial, and we all know what Harness Lightning does. But just so we're tracking, it's a 2-drop instant card. You get 3 energy, and then you may pay any. Or actually, sorry, go back to it. Choose target creature. You may pay 3 energy. Then you. I can't even say it right.
You can do it.
I can do
Sound
this.
it out.
You get 3 energy. then you may pay any amount of energy, and a Harness Lightning deals that much damage to that creature. So that's beneficial if you've got enough energy already built up. You can, you know, kill something that's fairly strong, or just anything that is an annoying creature. Plus, you get the 3 energy. So sometimes you don't have to use the whole thing. All 3 energy that you get from playing this card, but I put 3 of those in there, and then also 3 High Spire Infusion, 2-drop instant, gives your creature +3/+3 until end of turn, and you get 2 energy. So that goes into the effect of a Pummeler card. So when you play that, you plus him up 3, and now he's a 4, and then you can still pay that energy that you have with that to give him now an 8/8. So that's obviously a devastating card. And the combo with that, if you have the energy, since there are only 2 drops, not energy but the mana, Invigorated Rampage, which is a card I love playing in my red-white vehicle deck because it's beneficial in all kinds of levels, at least the way I look at it. 2-drop, choose 1, target creature gets +4/+0 and gains trample until turn, or target creature gets +2/+0 and gains trample until turn. So if you're swinging with that Pummeler and you have enough mana and they can't stop you or don't have anything to do to keep you from doing so, now your Pummeler has just suddenly become an 8/8 before you even pay the energy. So that is extremely devastating, and that shouldn't cost you a whole lot if you get the right card combo. Just that in itself. You can also do that with the Hellion. Now, it won't be as strong, but because Hellion has haste, and if you have the mana base for that, it also will be extremely effective. So that's why I threw that one in there. And so down to the artifacts that are going to benefit this even more. Obviously, Concoction Module, which is, you know, one most people use in these types of decks for energy. The 2-drop, whenever creature enters the battlefield under your control, you get energy. So obviously you're gaining energy every time one of those creatures comes in. You can pay the 4, tap it, and return a creature you control to its owner's hand. So that, if you need to use that to save something, that's always an option. So I went ahead and put 3 of those in there, and then moving on to Fabrication Module, which obviously that's a must. Whenever you get 1 or more energy, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature control. So every time I get energy, any of those creatures that I already have out there are going to get, at least one of those is going to get a counter. So your Pummeler can go from the 1/1 to the 2, or the Hellion can go from the 4 to the 5, so that's extremely beneficial. And this one I threw in there because I think if you don't have to worry about the trample part of pumping these creatures up, you can always have a key to the city. So I went ahead and dropped 2 of those in there, and discard a card, and target creature can't be blocked until end of turn, and then obviously you can draw an additional card on your upkeep if you pay the 2. So I like putting that in there because that gives you that option to, hey, well, if you want to block me, go ahead, but I'll just key to the city you, and no, you're not going to. So, and that's it for spells and creatures. And so for the land, I went ahead with 24 lands, decided to go with 4 Aether Hubs, obviously for the energy purpose, and then to use them for the other colors that you might need. 6 Forest, 10 Mountain, and then 4 Rootbound Crags, so fast land. Dual color fast land. So that's what I went with mine, and I like the way it played out a few times. I only really played it down digitally, didn't get to make the deck, but that's what I came up with, and it seemed to work out all right as long as I got a decent draw. But then again, most of these decks, sometimes if you don't get a decent draw, you're not going to, you know, win anyway, more than likely. I did not do a side deck because sideboard. I always mess that up. A sideboard, because I'm not really the best at putting sideboards together because I always think into it too damn much, and then I just say screw it. So one of these days I'll get my knack for it, but not today. So there's my deck with base card Lathnu Hellion, and you let me know what you think on the posts, and I'll let Keith roll into his deck.
Okay. Hey, what's up, guys? To start out, the one thing that I think is really strange is we started out with the Lathnu Hellion. Obviously, that was our random deck card selection for the week. And we weren't together over the weekend. We put these decks together, and when we got together and compared them to one another, the similarity is very, very weird. So I don't know if we just think the same, or that's how that, or this is the kind of deck that card's meant to go in, or we're both just stupid, or what. But our decks they're surprisingly similar, considering that we didn't collaborate with one another to build them. So I'm going to start out with my creatures as well. I'll jump right into it. First creature is a 1-drop Greenbelt Rampager. It's just a cheap, easy way to get some energy if you need it, and if you've got the energy, a 1-drop 3/4, that's hardly ever a bad thing, so that's good efficiency. Next creature, Winding Constrictor. This is one he didn't have in his too. If you would get one or more counters on an artifact or creature, you get an extra one. And if you would get one or more counters, you get an extra one. So all these cards that generate energy or counters, as we'll see as we go through here, they actually generate an extra one. So that really helps build up your energy reserve and the counters that we're going to be putting on some of these creatures to make them bigger. I like the Winding Constrictor in a lot of decks. So I put that one in here just to help build up some energy and some of these counters we're going to be looking at in a little bit. Next creature is another 2-drop. 4 copies of the Voltaic Brawler. He's a red and a green, 3/2. When he enters the battlefield, you get 2 energy, and then you can pay 1, and it gets +1/+1 and gains trample. So if you've got the Constrictor out there already, you're going to get 3 energy instead of 2. So that, I mean, it's just another cheap, pretty efficient creature. 3/2 that can be a 4/3 with trample. That's good efficiency. I like it. I got the 4 copies of the Lathnu Hellion. He went over, we went over. We've seen that card a lot this week, so I'm not going to go over it again. One thing I will say about it is I noticed a lot of the time you put that out there, swing with it, and just let it die. I mean, it's not the best way to use that card, but if you can get it out there for 3 and swing 4 to the face, then sometimes it's worth it. 3 mana for 4 damage and 2 energy is, I mean, that's okay.
That's pretty good.
A lot of times that's just what you do. It's fine. Next creature, 4-drop, 4 copies of the Bristling Hydra, which he had in his as well. So you get 3 energy when it comes in, and then you can pay 3 energy and put a counter on it, and makes it hexproof until end of turn. So if you combine that with the Winding Constrictor, you're going to get 4 when it comes in. You pay 3 and you get 2 counters on it. So it's another one that, with the combination of cards in here, can get pretty big pretty quick and kind of get out of hand, and it's hard for people to get rid of because you can make it hexproof. You know, if you've got that out there and your Lathnu Hellion and you've only got 3 or 4 energy left, then a lot of times you just let the Hellion die so that you can keep the energy, so you can make that hexproof and make it bigger if you need to. Everybody knows Bristling Hydra, so I don't need to talk about it too much. Last creature, 4 copies of the Demon of Dark Schemes. He's a fun one. When he comes into play, all other creatures get -2/-2 until end of turn. That includes yours, so you got to be careful when you play it to make sure you don't kill a bunch of your own stuff. But with the counters you're going to be putting on creatures and stuff, it's pretty easy to get up above that 2 toughness threshold. So you bring it in. I like using it against pirates because a lot of stupid pirates are 2/2s, and I hate pirates more than anything in the world. So it comes in, kills a bunch of pirates, you get a bunch of energy. For every creature that dies, you get an energy. That's yours, your opponent's, everybody. So, and that applies all the time, not just when you do that 2/2. So anytime a creature dies, you get an energy. And then, kind of similar to the way the Scarab God works, you can start pulling stuff out of the graveyards. And it only costs 3 mana to do that. 3 mana and 4 energy. So all those enter the battlefield effects that you've got on here that are getting you energy, you're going to get those again. So sometimes you can do this 2 or 3 times in one turn, bringing creatures back and getting energy and adding counters with the next card I'm going to go over. So it's a fun card to use. You can start using people's stuff against them. I like it. And it's a 5/5 flyer. So, good card. Combine all that with the Fabrication module, I thought that was a good pick. Anytime you get an energy, 1 or more energy, you can put a counter on one of your creatures. So if you got the Constrictor out there, you're putting 2 counters on every time you get an energy. So, you know, it's just a really easy way to, especially with a deck like this where almost every card in the deck is producing energy, it's a really easy way to pump up your creatures pretty quick. Get outside of that 3-4 damage threshold that you're going to get with some burn spells and things like that. You're still going to have to deal with, you know, your Fatal Push, Walk the Plank, all those Vraska's Contempt. It's not going to help you with those, but, you know, it's a good way to get up above that damage threshold that you're worried about a lot in Standard right now. Next card, got us a Harness Lightning, same as in Brian's deck. When it comes in, you get 3 energy. If you've got a... it's only 2 mana. So if you've got a module and a constrictor out there and you play that, you're going to get 4 energy when it comes in. And then you can add 2 counters to something, so it's another really efficient way to work within this deck to pump things up and increase that mana threshold so that you can, keep your Lathnu Hellion on the battlefield longer, or, work with the Bristling Hydra to keep it hex-proof, and also get rid of your opponent's creatures at the same time. So once you're adding up all that energy that you're getting, it's easy to take out a lot of big creatures sometimes. I really think that's one of the best removal cards, especially energy based. I don't know if there's any other energy based removal cards, but that's a good one. And then my last card, 4 copies of Walk the Plank, and I went with Walk the Plank. I could have went with Fatal Push, could have went with Vraska's Contempt, and in the sideboard you'll see that there are copies of those cards in there. Just to, depending on who you're playing and what you're playing against, you can switch these out and get something that might work better. If you end up playing a Merfolk deck, obviously you don't want a handful of Walk the Plank, so you can sideboard those out for other things. But against anything but Merfolk, I like it. It's cheap, it's almost unconditional, and it gets rid of a lot of stuff. So then I go into my land base. I went with 4 copies each of the Forest, the Mountain, and the Swamp for 12 total basic lands. And then I did 4 copies each of Blooming Marsh, Rootbound Crag, and Dragon Skull Summit. These are, in my opinion, the best dual lands available for those color combinations. Dragon Skull Summit will almost always come in untapped. Almost always. Because it's very likely that you're going to pull a mountain or a swamp. So most of the time it's going to come in untapped. Same with Rootbound Crag. It's the same condition. Comes in untapped as long as you have a mountain or forest. So most of the time you're going to be able to get those to come in as usable lands. Blooming Marsh is more useful at the beginning of the game when you're really trying to get things started building up, and then later it does come in tapped, but I still think that's the best black-green land in Standard right now. So then we will look at my sideboard. When building a sideboard, the way I do it is I try and think about what's going on in the meta right now, what's the most important and most used decks, and I try and build my sideboard so that there's stuff in there. No matter which of those decks I end up playing against, I can sideboard something in that's going to help me in the long run. So I think about Control, and I think about the Scarab God, the Godfarrow's Gift, your approach decks, the stupid red deck. It's not Ramunap red anymore, it's just red, mono red, whatever. red aggro. So I kind of try and build around those decks that are current right now. So my sideboard included 1 copy of the Field of Ruin. It is a good way to get rid of some of those flip cards, the flipped lands. I can't even think of them.
I don't know what the land's called.
The Growing Rights of Itlamok, Search for Azcatan, those all switch.
Hadda's Climb.
Yeah, Hadana's Climb, yeah. They all flip into non-basic lands that the Field of Ruin can get rid of. So if somebody's got a Field of Ruin out there and they're trying to get rid of your lands, which in this particular instance they probably wouldn't care too much because you're just running, your basic dual lands. But you can Field of Ruin somebody else's Field of Ruin so that they're not getting rid of your mana supply, if need be. I'm running 2 copies of Heroic Intervention. It saved me a few times last time we went and played against your board sweeps, board wipes. Usually if somebody's running a deck that has board wipes in it, they're going to have more copies of their board wipe than you're going to have of Heroic Intervention. but sometimes it can just get you that extra turn or two that you need to keep yourself above water. And it protects everything. It'll protect your lands, it'll protect your artifacts. It's all permanence, so it's handy. I'm running 2 copies of the Blossoming Defense, which is another just quick, cheap way to protect your creatures. If somebody's playing spot removal, you can protect any of your creatures with that. I'm going to run 2 copies of the Prowling Serpapard. It doesn't really fit in with the creature base on this deck. It doesn't have anything to do with energy, but if you're going against a heavy control deck that's countering your spells and things, you put that out there and it forces them to remove that, or they're going to lose the ability to counter all those creature spells coming in, which sometimes can be devastating. It just depends on how they've got their deck set up. If they're set up to just counter your stuff as it comes in and they don't really have a way to get rid of it once it's there, it can hurt them a lot. So I run 2 copies of that. I'm also going to run 2 copies of Fatal Push. Everybody knows what Fatal Push is, so I'm not going to go over it very much, but against your aggro decks where they're trying to get a bunch of little creatures out there at the beginning of the game and steamroll your face, it's a cheap, easy way to get rid of those. And longer term, if you need to activate that Revolt ability and get rid of something, excuse me, get rid of something bigger, you can. I'm going to run 2 copies of Vraska's Contempt, especially when you need to go and get rid of a Scarab God or a Hazaret or one of those creatures that you need to get rid of for good, whether it's indestructible or it's not going to die, it's going to go back in their hand, things like that. You got to be able to get rid of them. So run 2 copies of that. Going to run 2 copies of Silent Gravestone. That's another really good way to protect yourself against the Scarab God and your Godfarer's Gift. Makes it so that they can't target anything in the graveyard, so they're not going to be able to pull any of those creatures back. Handy dandy. And if they try and destroy it, pay a couple mana, sacrifice it, and empty the graveyards. So that's a really good card. When I saw that, yeah. When I saw that come out in Rivals of Ixalan, I thought that'd be a heavily used sideboard card in the current standard. And then I'm also going to run 2 copies of Abrade, just because it's kind of multi-purpose. It'll get rid of your Godfarer's Gift. If somebody else is running a deck similar to this one and they've got their Fabrication or the Winding Constrictor, it'll take care of that too. I was talking about the artifacts. If somebody's got a vampire deck, I know one of the guys here at work has a vampire deck that runs the Bantu's Monument and really can start draining your life. You can abrade it. So handy dandy to get rid of stuff like that. And like you said, it'll also take out creatures like your Winding Constrictor and some of those other, I can't name all the 3 defense creatures, but it'll do 3
well, why not?
3 damage to any of them. So it can be good removal for multi-purpose. That's the one thing I look at too when I'm going through my sideboard is multi-purpose cards, things that can be used for multiple situations. I think that's all I got for mine. So, like he said, if you've got a preference, let us know. Always, we're not professionals. We don't do this for a living. We just like to put decks together.
Yet.
If you've got suggestions, what you would change, how you would do things differently, why our deck's stupid, let us know what you think.
Yeah, I don't care. I love criticism.
Yeah. Give it to us. We'd love to hear it. But definitely comment down there below on which deck you think's better. Brian was the first one, Keith was the second deck, and we will now.
Oh yeah, we got to draw a new one. Oh, by the way, also we're gonna draw one today too, but feel free to post on there if you want to suggest a card. Say, hey, I don't like this card, or maybe I do like this card, but I just don't get it. But I want to see something happen with it. Post it on there. Tell us what it is. Standard, of course, a rare or mythic card, and we will work it into our build a deck around. So throw something at us, but we're going to pick one now.
Yeah, we're doing random card deck techs because we don't have the viewership to get suggestions. But if you've got a card that you want to see us build a deck around, let us know. We'd love to do it. That's really why we started this series, was so that we can start building some decks right now without suggestions. But if you guys have ideas or cards you want us to use, let us know. We'll definitely build a deck around it. So I'm putting this back up on the screen here now so you can see. Random card.
Oh, what is it? What is it? Boom.
We got from Rivals of Ixalan, the Tomb Robber.
Uh-oh.
I'm not sure what he does, but
Tomb Robber.
all right, 3-drop human pirate with menace. Pay 1, discard a card. Tomb Robber explores. So I've already got ideas of how we're gonna build this deck around Winding Constrictor again.
Unfortunately, Winding Constrictor does work in a lot of things. It is a great card. I could have put it in the one I built today or for this, but I sometimes kind of veer away from it only because I've seen it used a lot.
Just a hint, right now, this is probably going to be an Explore-based deck. So if you got any suggestions, post those down below too.
Yes.
Let us know before we get to our brainstorming video next week, and we'll see what we can add in there.
And we'll even throw some suggestions about what you've already posted. We'll let you know.
Woo,
look at that guy.
Tomb Robber.
Alrighty.
Alright, man, I think that's all we've got for today. I appreciate everybody watching. Let us know which deck you like the best. Let us know what you'd add into the Tomb Robber deck. And we will probably talk to you next Monday with our brainstorming video.
Oh, yeah. Catch you later.
Deuces.